Dale Truss, and Dale is going to talk to us about remembrances of high school and our teachers. Dale?
Okay. Let me make just a few brief remarks. I want to read to you a poem that I do not know the author, but I think it's meaningful. No written word, no spoken plea can teach our youth what they should be. Nor all the books on all the shelves, it's what the teachers are themselves. So we're going to look at some of these teachers, and when we put them on the screen, feel free to raise your hand or stand up and give a short testimony about your remembrance of that particular faculty member to share with the rest of us, because we all weren't in the same classes at the same time. And so we all perceive these teachers differently, like the 6 men of Hindustan that went to see the elephant, though each of them were blind. Go ahead with the first one. Okay, Miss Broadstreet, and she taught Latin and history. Yes.
She had a strange sense of humor. One day she read to us the different wind speeds that said if, a certain wind speed would blow your skirt. A certain wind speed would turn your umbrella upside down. And she just cackled and cackled and thought it was so funny. It had nothing to do with Latin.
I didn't know what good Latin would do for me in the first place, but I went to the medical field after I got out of the Air Force. And having gone to the medical field, I found out then what good Latin did do me and didn't realize it. But I'm glad I took it.
I have a good memory of Ms. Broadstreet, which happens to be one of my favorite teachers. And I've got to give you the reason why. Back in those days, she had a grade that was an A. And Joe B might get an A+. I went to talk to her one day about that because I thought that my A would certainly ought to be as good as this A+. And she said, Ed Kerr, you're right. I'm going to regrade your A++. And I took that to Joe B, and I don't know that he ever forgot it. But so as a result of that, Mrs. Broadstreet may be my all-time favorite president.
That is a great testimony. Okay, any others? I'm not
I
trying to
don't
rush
think
you.
my mother being on the school board had any
All right, shorthand and typing from Jean Crawford. And she married sometime in there. Anyone have her, or
I have.
did you have her?
I took typing. I never thought I would use that in my whole life, and it turned out my career, I had to type a lot. And if it wasn't for Jean Crawford, I never would have been in the broadcasting business, because I had to type a lot of news stories, sports stories, all kinds of stories, and I always look back at Jean Crawford as the one that got me started.
Great. Another one. Stand up and yell at them. Maybe you'll wait. Here you go.
She had me come in during the library period, before school, and after school, working on my shorthand so I could go to district and regional, which fortunately I didn't win.
Helen Bonner, history.
Helen Bonner, she had a top knot on her head, and I always had her hair up, and she was. I remember the Rosetta Stone, talking about the Rosetta Stone, and you guys that were tall fellows, like a few of them in my class, they'd have their legs sticking out, and she would warn you to get your feet in bounds. Is that right?
Yeah.
Get your feet in bounds, Mr. Graves or Mr. Andrews, or whatever, whoever you were, and wonderful memories about her, and I visited with her in her home years later, me and my wife Carolyn, and she sold us a book of encyclopedias, and they're out of date now, But my goodness, what a world the the basis of these teachers is God sent to everybody in this room. So God bless all of them. Thank you.
Is it okay to reveal grudges? I have a grudge with Miss Bonner. If I'm not mistaken, she taught me that in 1957, Guy Mollet was the premier of France. That is an absolutely worthless piece of information, and I want that brain cell back.
Anyone else?
But he was.
He was.
Mr. Cummings, vocational ag.
I'll help Daddy. James Cummings probably taught agriculture, most of you know. A lot of us sitting in this room had him. He didn't teach you just about agriculture, he taught you about life. Greatest teacher I ever had, helped me a long ways. And I'm so appreciative of what he's done. Thank you.
I visited with Mr. Cummings several times over the years, and he had been involved in education through the different school systems. And he went on to make a lawyer, and he had law offices out here by the Oaks here on Business 45. And I visited with him probably 6 months ago, and he was not moving around too well. He had a golf cart. But anyway, it wasn't but a few days he passed away. And all they had in there was a small write-up in the Course County paper, never had a funeral or anything. But he I had lots of good teachers, but he was one of my favorites. And he continued all the way through the years to be my friend.
Eli. Anyone?
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Dickie Lancaster and Bill Murchison, I was in that speech class. And so all these years, if you had a conversation with me, you know that my vocabulary is not very good. I didn't learn a whole lot in that class, but he was a wonderful teacher. And I will say this, that Dickie Lancaster and Bill Murchison could write a thesis or a paper 5 pages long within about 10 minutes. And if you read Bill's columns now in the Course County paper, I have to get a dictionary out to determine what those words mean.
Before Mr. Douglas went on, thank goodness for us to be a great administrator in the public school system, and thank God. And but he got his, I guess you'd say, his introduction to students. It was myself and Patty and Judy, Tynesy, and I think Patricia, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we had to write an extemporary speech. I can't even say the word. And we had to write a speech like that. So somebody thought of this great idea that we would all do it at the same time, and it would be a little song. So Mr. Douglas kind of shook his head. He said, "Okay, girls, come on up." And so we went, and we began to sing, "Hello, the Jacks. Come on, hello, Mellow Jacks, little darling. We are not here for me." Right. He had to sit down and then write a speech. And the poor man just turned blood red. But I figured we got him started off and did the right thing.
Colonel Fernald. He taught plain geometry. That's the main thing I remember. I don't remember what else he taught. Yes.
This Colonel Fernald, one of the things I remember, I believe he was on the second floor here at the school over on this north side and taught a math class.
Yes.
And what I think I remember, and I may be, but please correct me if I'm wrong, he had been in the military and they called him Colonel Fernald. And every once in a while, he'd get disturbed with the class for whatever reason. I was never in one of his classes, but you could hear him down the hall holler attention, and I tell you what, you would almost salute the wall if he walked by. But I'm sure he was a very nice person, but that's what I remember about him.
Typically very quiet,
Yes.
meek and humble, and he had been an Air Force colonel. Yes, Gary?
I learned more from Colonel Fernald than any math teacher I ever had.
The best?
The best math teacher I ever had, basically because I made A pluses across the board. But I actually learned more mathematics than any math teacher I ever had. And I really did like it.
Did you hear him? More mathematics from Colonel Fernald than any math teacher he ever had.
That's true.
That's a good testimony. Anyone else? Yes.
I was in Mr. Fernald's class, and I remember when he was out of the room one time in the agriculture building across the street, and some of us were throwing chocolate rations at the agriculture boys when they was going across the street to the class.
Boys PE? Mr. Hay.
Hey, H-A-Y.
Hay, oh yeah, Hay, yeah.
My favorite teacher.
Did you hear that?
He was my favorite teacher. Coach, everybody called him Coach too, Bill Hay.
Yep. I didn't have him because I was in band, so. Next teacher? No. Cub Hill. Bill, it's your turn.
No.
Bill was
I can't let that pass without talking about Hub Hill. Hub Hill was an extraordinary person. He played every instrument in the band. He knew how to play them, and he taught us. I played clarinet. Larry Norwood played the trumpet and the trombone. Tommy Rowe played the trumpet. Barbara Draper played the clarinet. Somebody else, anybody else in here? Mike Everhart. Mike played the clarinet. Hub had a great sense of humor, which he had to have in order to control the young folk under his control. But I wrote about Hub when I was writing a column at the Dallas Morning News, and I was asked to be a pallbearer at his funeral when he died. He was truly a wonderful person and a memorable presence in my life.
He actually came to Corsicana in the 30s, and then when the war came along, he was in the service as a military bandsman. And if you remember, he was an artist at these band things on the field. I mean, he'd get up on the chalkboard, he'd enumerate how he wanted it done, and by 1 week, Friday night, all of these 85 band people, they'd be marching exactly as he had envisioned. So he was really quite effective, and you're right, he had a tremendous sense of humor, and I think we tried that sense of humor to its max on band buses going to these football games, because that was tough.
His favorite expression was, play it like it's written, not like it's rotten.
I was in the high school band for a number of years with Dale, and I never really had time to learn how to read music. I played by ear. Our final exam consisted of sight reading, so he would put a sheet of music there, and it would look like Chinese, so I started playing Yankee Doodle or something like that. Mr. Hill got red hot, and he said, Everhart, I'm going to give you a C-. I said, thank you, Mr. Hill, I'm glad to get it.
No, Miss Holsey? Okay.
Wait a minute, I got something on Lucile. Is this Lucile?
Yes.
Lucile?
Yep.
Well, I remember we had a stage band here on one assembly, and our stage band was up there doing some music, and the team they played was the rock and roll Lucile. And I want you to know, she was pecking at herself like this, you know. Her face turned red, but she was a beautiful person. Praise God for her.
Does anybody remember how she crossed her legs one in front of the other as she walked very slowly down the hallway, and usually had her hand up to her face?
Yes.
Dale, I had her for homeroom too, and Johnny Umfish was in there. There's a bunch of us old boys in there, and he put a frog in one of the drawers in her desk one day. And she come in there and just happened to open that drawer. And she screamed, throwed up her hands, and run out of the room and stayed out for a long time before she ever come back in there. And also,
Johnny's not here.
when he come in there, he'd embarrass her all the time. He'd grab her and hug her up and kiss her on the cheek.
Stuart Beebe and I sat on the same row. And if you remember, your desk was the seat for the person sitting in front of you. And so Stuart asked to be excused, went to get him a drink of water or whatever, and I looked over on the blackboard, and there was a, thumbtack. And so, poor old me, I said, you know, I'm gonna fix old Stuart up. So I put that thumbtack in that seat. Well, here comes Stuart, and instead of just sliding into the seat, he literally dropped. Now let me tell you, I would have not done that to anybody. He dropped, and that thumbtack must have went all the way to the bone. And he was a stout, athletic. He pulled that seat, that desktop, up out of the floor with that student sitting in front of him with those screws and screamed. Here comes Miss Holsey back there.
Did he know you done that, Jerry?
Yes, he told her I did. He told her I did. I don't know how he knew, but anyway, she says, Stuart, what is wrong with you? And he told her that I had put a thumbtack in his seat. She looked at me and she says, Jerry, you didn't do that, did you? Says, you're always very polite, very quiet. Said, I've never had any problems with you. Miss Holsey, I don't know what he's talking about. Let me tell you, I can still feel that thumbtack going to the bone. I would have not done anybody that way.
Belle Kiber, one of my favorite teachers. She instilled in me and a lot of other people a real love for literature, for reading, and getting things right. She also was a sponsor for the student council, and so had a lot of things to do with her. I have said this to people before, and I'll say it once more. We all are products of every teacher we've ever had, and I'm glad that she was one of the ones that was a good sponsor.
From kindergarten through university, Belle Kiber was the best teacher I ever had. She opened a window to the world. She was passionate about literature, and she infused that in her students. I remember, this is senior English, and I went into that class thinking I was quite a great writer. And I wrote some flowery paper for her, and it came back F. And I go, well, why? And she goes, well, you have said a little with a lot of words. I'm going to teach you to say a lot with a little word, and it takes me all year long. Well, it just about did. But she helped me in every way, but it was that passion of her. But you think, Larry, that infused us, and to this day, a love of literature comes from her.
I want to hear the prologue to the Canterbury Story.
I can do it.
Let Bill do it.
I can do it. Wanda and Pretty in the shower, souped up the droop of March, and pierced into the ruler, and bothered everything, sweet liqueur, of which virtue and gender is the floor.
And Snobby Crowley is not another day in its life in Albany with open yet. So pick up in the church here for us, and long close to come to the rise. And Thomas for the second strongest, the burning power is truth and only loses. And especially from every shudder's anger of anger on the count of every big window. Holy blissful God, for the sake of the hand of helping one of the favorite second.
Wow. What a testimony. Mayme Moore for mathematics. Flaming Mayme. Each generation knows her.
The square of the hypotenuse of a right triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides.
Yes.
I'm to tell a story of something that I used for years when I was teaching school that I learned at Corsicana High School. It was, how would you figure out how much sand it would take to fill up this room? And then, how are you going to figure out how much it costs to fill this room up with sand? And I learned that at Corsicana High School, and I used it for years and years teaching. And we were always going to fill up my classroom with sand, which was probably a good idea anyway.
I walked in the first day of school and sat down, and she called the roll, and I said, present, and she says, are you Ollie Dunnigan's granddaughter? And I said, yes, ma'am. I never knew whether that was good or bad. I worried about it the entire year. I still don't know.
Mr. Ross for distributive education? Yes.
Mr. Ross was our distributive education teacher, and those of all of us that were in there, we really were a close connected group. And I remember I would say, I am so serious, I want to know, because I'm fixing to get out and get a job. And he said, I tell you what, every job you have, you treat it like you have the most important job in the company, and I'm still doing it.
Okay. I want to first just revert quickly to Miss Stanley, because Miss Stanley did something for me and for all of us that was very important. One day, she filled the blackboards in our room with poems, and she had us memorize as much as we could. We weren't graded on it, but what I memorized, I still retain. And I have occasion to remember and to recite. The day is cold and dark and dreary, it rains and the wind is never weary, the vine still clings to the moldering wall, and the hopes of youth are something. But it was Longfellow anyway. But anyway, that was very important. She taught us the narrative power of the English language. Mrs. Wilkes. Mrs. Wilkes was somebody else I wrote about when I was writing for the Dallas Morning News. Mrs. Wilkes gave us a sense of the beauty and the importance of literature. We read Salis Mourner under her, and she had a sense and a touch of romance and of beauty that conduced to our remembering the story long after that we had finished her class. She was marvelous.